So in this section, we'll look at solving more equations. So we're on the top of page 71, and this is our section 9.3. Again, we're not going to do every problem, maybe every other problem or so. So the first step, generally speaking, is to remove the parentheses, and then we'll combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. Then we need to move the letters to one side by adding or subtracting, and then we'll move the numbers to the other side by adding or subtracting. And then finally we multiply or divide to get the letter by itself, and that's always the last step. So let's skip example 1 and go to example 2. So here the first thing, there's no parentheses, there's no like terms on each side separately. There's only letters in one spot, so we need to move things away from that. It says minus 7, so we'll start by adding 7 to both sides. That cancels out, leaves me with 3x on the left and 18 on the right. And then we're back to problems like we did earlier. We divide both sides by 3, and we get 18 divided by 3 is 6. Let's look at this one. We'll start by drawing our line down here. We want to get things away from the letters in one spot. There's no like terms, so we don't need to worry about that. So we'll start with this 9. Now remember that if there's nothing in front of it, it's a positive 9. So we'll subtract 9 from both sides to cancel that out. That leaves me on the left with 23 minus 9 is 14. On the right, we need to be really careful. There's a minus in front of that, so we really have negative y over 3. So the next thing we'll do is like we did earlier, last section, is we'll multiply both sides by 3. So 14 times 3 is 42, and we still have that negative y. We talked about before, if I don't want that negative there, because I'm not done yet, if I change this sign, then I have to change this sign as well. So my final answer is negative 42 equals y. So we'll look here, we'll draw a line down here. We have like terms on the left side, so we'll combine those first. We get 6x plus 5 equals 17. So I'll subtract 5 from both sides. So 6x is equal to 12. And then I divide both sides by 6. And I get x is equal to 2. So here we have this fraction with that x. Let's just start with the denominator. It says divide by 3, so let's start by multiplying by 3. That leaves me with 5x on the left, and 25 times 3 is 75 on the right. Then I can divide both sides by 5, and that leaves me with 15. Here again, we have like terms on the right, so let me just write the 32 first. X minus 5x is a negative 4x minus 12. So then we can add 12 to both sides. We get negative 4x on the right and 44 on the left. So then I'll divide both sides by negative 4. And I get x is equal to negative 11. We'll skip 7 and 8 and 9. This is what we've already talked about a little bit. The first step is to remove the parentheses. Then we combine like terms. We move the letters to one side by adding or subtracting. We move the numbers to the other side by adding or subtracting. And finally, we multiply or divide to get the letter by itself. So here We'll draw our line down. The first step is that we need to get rid of those parentheses. So we will distribute. We'll take negative 3 times both those pieces. So we have negative 3y. And then negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12 equals 36. So then we'll subtract 12 from both sides. That leaves me with negative 3y on the left and 24 on the right. So now I want to divide both sides by negative 3, which leaves me with y equals negative 8. We'll skip 2 and go on to 3. Here, remember, draw a line down first. Remember that these parentheses don't have anything around them. That means that those parentheses aren't really needed. So we'll just write 3m minus 2. And then here, this minus sign means that everything after it has to be the opposite. So we have minus 5m plus 3. And that equals 19. So now let's combine some like terms. So 3m minus 5m is negative 2m. Negative 2 plus 3 is a positive 1 equals 19. So now I can subtract 1 from both sides. So I get negative 2m is equal to 18. And then divide both sides by negative 2. And I get m is equal to negative 9. We'll skip 4 and we'll go on to 5. In example 5, we have letters on both sides of our equal sign. So we need to start by getting them onto the same side. So let's add x to both sides. That will cancel it out on the right. And that leaves me with 4x minus 4 equals 8. Now we can move the number, so we'll add 4 to both sides. And that leaves me with 4x equals 8. So now I can divide both sides by 4, and then get x is equal to 2. We'll skip 6 and go on to 7. So here we're going to start with getting rid of the parentheses. This 8m that's in front just has to stay in front for a minute. This negative sign means that those are all going to get changed signs, the opposite. So we have a minus 2m plus 3m. Here the 3 gets multiplied by everything inside, 3m minus 12. So we'll combine some like terms. 8m minus 2m is 6m. And over here on the right, there's nothing else to combine. So now we can move our letters to the left. So I'll subtract 3m from both sides. That gets rid of that here. So I get 3m plus 3 is equal to negative 12. And now I can subtract 3 from both sides. That leaves me with 3m over here and a negative 15 over here. Be real careful with those signs. This was a negative 12, and now we're taking negative 12 minus 3 is a negative 15. We'll divide both sides by 3, and I get m is equal to negative 5.